Hello ladies and gentlemen, today we're back in War Thunder and we're looking at another devblog. This is for the Mitsubishi Ki-109 and Gaijin have decided to call this an unexpected threat. I think there's a bit of a joke going on here, since the Ki-109 is just the Ki-67 bomber, which we already have two variants in the game. It is huge, and the only real difference is that it can't carry bombs, it has some of its defensive armament ripped out, and it has a 75mm on it, so therefore an unexpected threat. I mean, it's absolutely huge. You're gonna see this thing coming from a mile away. But anyway, let's get into the devblog. The Mitsubishi Ki-109, nicknamed Peggy by Allied forces, was a Japanese late-war design intended to defend the homelands from high-altitude bombing raids conducted by the USAF. Although its operational service was short-lived, the Ki-109 will receive a second chance at proving what it's capable of in the upcoming 1.71 update. I think it's safe to say that the Ki-109, even though it gets its second chance in War Thunder proving what it's going to be good at, well, it's not going to be very useful. This is another one of those aircraft where I just look at it and I think, yeah, it's nice to see it in the game because, you know, it did exist and all of this stuff, but nobody's ever going to fly this. I mean, I will fly it for about 5 or 10 matches to upgrade it and spade it and then maybe make a review on it, but most people aren't in my position where, you know, I decide to make reviews on stuff, so therefore people are just going to grind this out and then just leave it to where it is, or just skip it in the tech tree. It's going to be one of those machines which you're just never going to see. And, you know, it's nice to see it has a lease of life. It was obviously designed to go after high altitude bombers, just like a lot of Japanese planes were 1943 onwards, because obviously you have the B-17s, the B-24s, the B-29s. They all did a lot of work in the Pacific, and the Japanese were always looking for an answer. And, well, the Ki-109 is just one of those things to show that some of the answers they have, well, they didn't work out too well. Although historically the Ki-109 only saw limited use at the end of the war, where it was defending the Japanese home islands, in War Thunder, our battle-hardened veterans will also have the chance to take the fight to the enemy and truly show what the Peggy is capable of. Being relatively fast and nimble for its size while possessing a monstrous 75mm anti-air cannon makes the Ki-109 present itself as not only a serious threat to enemy bombers, but also to unsuspecting fighters. Contrary to his older brother, the Ki-109 is unable to carry any additional secondary weaponry, as the bomb pylons, along with most of the defensive turrets, had to be removed in order to save on weight, allowing for installation of the Type 88 75mm cannon. The cannon makes short work of just about anything that crosses its line of fire, from heavy bombers to heavy tanks. So there you go. That basically outlines what this thing is going to do. This is not something like a Grizzly. The Grizzly, with its 75mm, will be able to pop tanks with ease, which is something that I'm looking forward to. The Ki-109, on the other fact, does have this ridiculous 75mm in the nose, which they pretty much had to sacrifice everything else on the aircraft for. It is an anti-air cannon. So whether it gets AP shells, or whether it gets HE shells, it doesn't really matter. They're going to be tailored towards going after air. I believe historically, the Ki-109 only had HE shells, and the fact that it's getting AP shells, which we will get into in the next paragraph, is kind of sad. But at least it makes it, you know, semi-useful, if you want to say that. You'll see one of these in 100 matches instead of 0. The fact that it can't carry additional bombs, all of its armament's been stripped out, and it's supposed to be able to just shoot. This is just one of those vehicles. It just is. I know you just look at it and you think, what is the use of this? Well, okay, in ground forces, maybe you can pop a few tanks, but you only have 15 rounds. Okay. You're not going to get a good turn-off and a good arc to attack on his second try. Plus, you're going to have fighters on your ass constantly because of American and British CAS in the form of the Wyvern, the form of the P-47 and the P-51. Okay. Well, it might be good at ships. Well, you're the size of a barge. Even though you're maneuverable, your speed isn't great. So if you get anywhere near those ships, with your 75 to be able to do anything, well, they're just going to blast you out of the air, aren't they? Oh, well, that's not great. Oh, maybe it's good against bombers. Well, talking about before, the speed on this thing isn't great, so if it has a lower BR, you know, around maybe 3.74, it could go after B-25s with quite hilarious consequences. But if it goes up against the other lot, which is the B-24, B-17, B-29, it's not going to be able to catch them, is it? It's not going to be fast enough. So yeah, it's not looking great for the Ki-109. Oh dear. While the HE shells proved to be absolutely devastating against aircraft and lightly armoured vehicles, where one hit is usually more than enough to send the opponent back to the hangar, the AP rounds have enough penetrating power to slice through the armor and even the more thick-skinned enemy tanks that the Ki-109 will meet in battle. This, combined with the favorable flight performance and stability when firing, makes the Ki-109 a very potent and fearsome opponent to meet in an aerial engagement. I want to talk to the person who wrote this, because it's absolutely 100% overselling what this thing is. I just, you know when you're writing something, or you know when you're like making something, whether it be a video, or maybe you've got like a presentation for class, or a presentation for work, or maybe you have to do something, and you know it's all terrible, or you know it's horseshit. But you've got to push through, and you've got to try and argue a point. Maybe you have to argue against, I don't know, like the scientific method and why it's the wrong method, and you know that the evidence is just completely against you in every single way, but you've chosen to do this project. This is the one you're going to sit on. So you push through, and then you write an absolutely ridiculous presentation, and you have to present it, and this is what this feels like. I feel sorry for the guy who's had to write this. Let's get on to the next paragraph. However, aspiring pilots of the Ki-109 need to take into account that their only frontal armament, the 75mm cannon, has a very limited ammo capacity of only 15 rounds. Efficiency is the name of the game here, yeah, you could say that more than once, meaning that the pilots of this machine will have to choose their engagements carefully and only fire when a hit is guaranteed, otherwise they run the risk of running dry on ammo without doing any damage. So on top of a massive aircraft, which is at least maneuverable, but remember, for a massive aircraft, so against monoplanes, they're going to outturn you, they're going to laugh at you, while you're trying to do those loops, or you're trying to curve around, yep, they're going to batter you, because, well, you don't have a lot of defensive armament, do you? On top of that, you may think, oh, I've got this 75mm that I can only either take out HE or AP. Maybe, if I get lucky, I get into a game where I get a beautiful air spawn, I go after bombers, I got my HE, it's all going well, and then you realize you only have 15 rounds. So, it's not... And then you realize that guns like this in game are generally not very accurate. The 57mm on the Mosquito, the 75 on the Duck, the 75 that's going to be on the Grizzly, the 75 on the PBJ. Without that modification, I think it's a tier 3 modification where it basically makes your spread a lot less, your shots are just going to go everywhere. So you've only got 15 rounds. Lord, give me strength. Holy... There's just so much bad about this aircraft. I just cannot see how, in any way, it's gonna be ever used. I mean, there's some absolute wonderful comments under this. And, you know, people are asking for the OI, which seems to happen after every Japanese devblog. The next guy, Nomadic Warrior, says, finally a decent ground attacker for the Japs. Hope this is just the beginning. This is not a decent ground attacker. You have 15 rounds, and you're going to get swarmed by literally everything on the enemy team. Because the enemy team, around the BR that this is going to sit, I'm guessing around 3 to 4, something like that. They're going to have aircraft which have more ordnance than you in the form of rockets and bombs, and they're going to have more guns than you. And all you're going to have is a piddly tail gun, which is kind of designed to keep you alive, but it really ain't going to do a lot. It really isn't against the planes coming after you. And then that's not even thinking about... Think about if this actually gets put around 4.0, right? You're going to come up against B-25s constantly. B-25s have 450 cals staring at you if you go behind them. You're not going to be able to get into a position with this aircraft where you get under it and then pull up and attack the B-25, because the B-25 is just going to go in a straight line, or it's just going to dive to your altitude. If it goes in a straight line, it's going to be too fast, so you're going to have to take that one shot, and you're going to only get one shot, because once you fire this gun, you're going to lose so much speed that B-25 is going to be away. So you better hit, and let's say you do hit. Then what if you spark? Oh my, what if you spark with this gun? Lord, 30 spark, 20 spark, 75 spark, 57 spark, and a lot of the time it's like, oh, well, I could have had a wonderful shot there, and it's okay, I have some rounds in the barrel. You know, maybe I have some backup, like 7.7s like you do on the Duck, or 50s like you do on the Grizzly, or 7.7s like on the Mosquito. No, you don't have any of that here. If you hit and it doesn't register, or it doesn't do enough damage, well, you're screwed, aren't you? Because you're not catching that guy, and all you're gonna be able to do is go in loops over and over again going, look how maneuverable I am. Aren't I wonderfully maneuverable? While 4 fighters outmaneuver you and just batter you to death. Oh, God. Oh, this is gonna be a fun one to review when it comes out. When the P-108, I believe it's the B, the one with the large gun on it, when it came out, I decided not to review it because it's just useless, and I was already talking about the other P-108, so it wasn't going to get its own dedicated review. I'm going to make it my mission to unlock this bad boy in the first few days, spade it, and make a damn review on it, and talk about how useless it is. Just because I feel like it. The last paragraph, let's get onto it before I giggle myself to sleep. The Ki-109 will join the ranks of the Japanese heavy fighter line in the intermediate ranks in the upcoming Update 1.71. Although the history of this aircraft may not have been as significant as of others, the mark that the 75mm cannon will leave on your opponent's vehicles is sure to be everything but insignificant. Unless you spark, of course. Oh. So remember, in aircraft, you can't generally change belts while you're in the air. So in the Ki-109, you're going to have to either take full AP or full HE. Now I think the way that people are going to try and get this to work is just go full AP and smash tanks in it, kind of like what you do with the P-108. Because this thing is not going to be an effective bomber hunter. If it does sit around 4.0, or, you know, even 3.0, it really doesn't matter. You could put it between 2.0 and 6.0, and it would do exactly the same thing, which is nada. It won't do anything. I mean, if you come up against the Russians, they generally don't run bombers anyway, and if they do, it's a year 2. You know, you might do well against that. It does have a 20mm on it though, and you are a massive target. But let's say, you know, you might do okay against them. Americans, B-25, you're screwed. You're not going to be able to do anything against that. The British, you may have a chance. If you get stocked up against Wellingtons, you should have a pretty good field day as long as you have a decent air spawn. If you get bomber air spawn, this thing might be useful against bombers, but if you get interceptor air spawn, you're not going to be able to get up to them before they hit their targets and disappear, or other fighters have just outclimbed you to get to them. Against something like a Halifax, I suppose at least the Halifax is a big target. Maybe you can hit it from 1.5k out, so the 7.7s can't hit it. You know, I'm looking at the best case scenario for this damn thing. But I think we can all agree, this is not going to be a showstopper. This is going to be a machine, which is going to be in a lot of YouTube War Thunder highlight videos, because people are going to just get some ridiculous shots in it, and people are going to be like, oh look, isn't that really cool, ha ha ha, that's a 1 in a million chance. I prefer useful machines, but on the other hand, as I said, it was historical, it did fly, so therefore it should be in the game. It's just, don't see this as a solution to Japan's problems in the air when it comes to ground forces. It ain't. If anything, it's just something you're gonna have to grind through, and it's gonna piss you off. I'll see you next time.